welcome to Hack the Real Size podcast with Heather, Ashley, and myself, Keira, where we like to delve into the personal journeys of people in the entertainment industry with a little bit of cheeky banter. And this week's guest is the wonderful Amanda Chennell. So Amanda has done so much. She's an actor, director, producer, singer. She's doing an MA as well. And she has done lots and lots of credits like Jesus Christ Superstar, Les Mis, Sound of Music, and literally the list goes on and on and on, doesn't it? I mean, you have done so much work in theatre. I bet anyone who is into theatre watching this is just going to absorb so much information from you. So thank you very much for coming tonight.
Thank you for having me.
Good. Now, I'm hoping that you've seen one of these before and you know the layout, but just in case, I will start with a few little cheeky questions. They're meant to be quick fire, but if you have to think about the answers because they are a bit ridiculous, it doesn't matter. And then Ashley is taking the middle section, talking about how you started and where you grew up. And then Heather will take the end bit. Okay?
Good. Yeah, cool.
Any questions?
No.
Are you ready to dive in?
Yeah, let's go.
Good. Okay, so nice and easy. What song is guaranteed to get you on the dance floor?
No song whatsoever. I am a dancer.
Oh no.
Oh my god. Probably. I mean, with some alcohol, obviously. Something from the 80s. A bit of Wham.
Ooh.
You know, Wake Me Up Before You Go Go, or something that's like in the soundtrack to a John Hughes film. You know, I don't know, that song from Breakfast Club.
Yep. That's fine. I honestly pegged you as a dancer. I really thought you'd be one of the first on the floor.
No, 2 left feet.
Well,
And so self-conscious unless I've had a drink.
wait till we have our first real life get together then. We will drag you on the dance floor.
Okay.
If you could be any fictional character, who would you be?
Ooh. Oh, so there's some books by David Eddings called The Belgariad, which I have no idea why nobody's made them into a film. There must be something with the rights or something that stopped them being, because they're like fantasy, they're Lord of the Rings-esque. And there's a character in that called Polgara, who's like this, she's this sort of, she's not, witch is the wrong word, but she's an enchantress kind of, and she's, you know, lived for a lot of years, and she's just badass. So I think I'd be her.
Oh, I could see that. Love it. Who's the most interesting person you've ever met? Doesn't have to be famous, but...
Oh, God. I haven't met God. Sounds like that was my answer. Interesting person. I've met lots of interesting people. And there's like... and it's all sort of a bit name droppy as well, isn't it?
we love that. Go for it.
Okay.
You want.
So my husband was Tim Minchin's tour manager for a while, and Tim is a really interesting man.
I can remember that story. Yes, that's a good one.
Yeah, he's really clever and funny and quirky and so yeah, so he's interesting. Yeah, there you go.
I think that's a pretty good answer.
Okay.
That's a pretty good one, yeah. What do you think is the best smell in the world?
Oh, it's your children. It's the smell of the top of their heads when they're a baby.
When they're baby, newborn baby smell.
Oh God.
It is a good one, isn't it?
I just remember sniffing my daughter like in the first sort of 48 hours, just loads, sniffing the top of her head. Yeah, if you could bottle that.
Somebody probably has tried to.
Oh, probably, yeah.
Whatever you get like angry with your older children, just like smell that and you'll be like, okay, it's fine. It's fine.
Brings you back to the nurturing stage when you didn't want to lock him in the garden in a hurricane.
Yeah.
Right.
Not that I'm saying today's been tough, but what do you think would be the worst thing somebody could write on their dating profile?
Oh God, I've never seen a dating profile, so
You're lucky.
I don't know. I don't know what kind of things you do write.
It's usually like likes long walks,
Oh,
Chinese
okay.
food, and blah
Okay.
blah.
So, I think, you know, sort of like that would sound creepy.
My brain just really went to like enjoys taxidermy or
Yeah.
dismembering people or
Yeah.
butt collecting.
Yeah. Yeah.
My brain goes to weird places, so don't worry about that one.
Yeah. No, I something like, yeah, has own dungeon or something.
Well, I don't know. Nowadays, that might be like a real thing that people are like.
Nowadays, that might entice actually a lot of people. So
Yeah.
People might think it means we've got our own 50 Shades style red room, not like I will lock you in and slide the food under the door.
Yeah, no, fair enough. Fair enough. Yeah. Not a 50 Shades person, so never read it, never saw it. So,
What's your biggest kitchen fail?
oh, everything. I'm a terrible cook.
Really?
Yeah, I married a man who is a really good cook and loves cooking. So, when he's away on tour, when the kids were growing up, when he was away on tour, literally, you know, I'm a proper fish fingers, beans and chips kind of a girl. And then he'd come home and they'd have actually proper meals. So any nourishment that they've had in their life has been when he's not been on tour.
Well, at least you know your limits. That's fine.
Yeah, no, my kitchen fails are daily. I've got a couple of stock dishes that I can do, but other than that,
Everything.
just awful. I wasn't designed for that at all.
No, you can't be good at everything.
No, I'm good at everything else, Keira. Everything else.
Exactly, apart from cooking.
Yeah.
And you know what? I bet secretly you're amazing at it. You just let your husband have that win.
Let him think he's good at something.
Yeah.
No, I am utterly shite at it.
Well, never mind. If you could kill off any character in any current TV show, what would it be, or who would it be?
Oh, I don't really watch like normal telly. I just watch, you know, I don't watch sort of soaps or anything like that. I watch films or stuff on Netflix or, you know, the streaming channels. I guess. Well, I've just finished watching Line of Duty, which isn't going to read at all in the States, I don't think.
Don't mention anything about the ending. I'm a few series behind, but I saw everybody mentioning on Facebook yesterday
Okay.
about the ending.
So, oh well, there's a character in that I think needs to go.
Who's
Yeah.
that?
Carmichael. Oh, I'd give her a really grisly end.
Okay. Well, someone's going to agree with you on that one.
Yeah, I think most people might agree with me on that one. Yeah.
If you could remake any film using just the Muppets and one token human actor, what film would you choose?
So I've thought about this, and I've kind of got two answers, because I think I've got like a fun film that it would work with, and then I thought, wouldn't it be funny if it was also like a really serious film? So my fun film is Back to the Future.
Ooh, okay. So who's going to play Marty McFly?
Well, I think that that's Kermit.
Yeah.
I think that I'd keep Doc.
Yeah.
Because
Okay.
he's so yeah, he's my human actor, because he's so cartoon like anyway.
Yeah.
I think Miss Piggy is probably the mum character,
Yes.
rather than the girlfriend.
Oh yeah, like the really awkward, like in love with her own son but doesn't know it kind of character.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's kind of funny. I think that's Piggy. And then I don't know. I was trying to work out who Biff would be, like the bully.
Ooh.
And maybe Animal.
Yeah, I was going to say Animal. Yeah. What would
and
your scary film or your serious film be?
The Shawshank Redemption. I just think it would be, you know, it would be a different angle.
So would you keep Tim Robbins as a Tom or Tim Robbins?
Tim Robbins. No, I would keep Morgan Freeman.
Okay.
No,
And then have the other lead role.
Yeah, I think Kermit is Andy Dufresne. I
Yeah.
think the character. Yeah, I think that's Kermit. I think
Yeah.
he's a bit shorter than Tim Robbins, but I think that's the yeah.
I can just imagine him crawling through. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
Just,
it.
I love that question because there's just so many good angles to go down. It's fabulous. And then the question that we ask all our guests, which I'm hoping you've prepared for.
I have.
Realistically, Amanda,
Yeah.
how long do you think you would survive in a zombie apocalypse?
So it's an it depends answer, really, because I know that everybody who knows me would be like, "Oh my god, she'd be the first to go," like definitely the first to go. But if I survived the first 24 hours, I think the inner Carol would come out in me.
You like be cutting down your hair and
Oh, I think I'd give Melissa McBride a run for her money. Yeah.
okay.
I think there's badass me because I can be a cold bitch when I want to be, and I think that's the side of me that would emerge.
Well, but Carol's a really good baker.
Yeah, well, I would be acting, so you know.
But this is real life.
Oh yeah, of course. Okay. Well, you know, what's more important in a zombie apocalypse? Being able to deal with the zombies or being able to cook a,
Pies?
you know, a good cake?
That's a tough one.
I'm not saying
Yeah.
I want a zombie apocalypse to happen, but I kind of want to see badass Amanda. I'm liking that. I'm here for that.
Yeah.
What about the rest of your family? Would they be much use to you? Or would you like keep them
Yeah.
just like dead weights?
No, I think I'm not sure about my daughter. She'd probably go quite quick. But she'd be too busy trying to take selfies with the with the zombies.
Hashtag biter almost got me. Sorry.
My sons have got I mean they're older, they're 18 and 20, but we've still got all their Nerf guns. So I reckon we could adapt, recommission, whatever you call it, the Nerf guns and sort of repurpose them. So we've got quite an arsenal there. And actually my daughter would be handy because her boyfriend has got like Lord of the Rings swords and all of that stuff. So that would be useful.
Mm-hmm.
I think my husband would be quite useful, I think.
You can cook for everybody.
He can cook, and also he's a techie. He's in theatre techie, so he's quite good at building things and being inventive that way.
Yeah, he'll manage to create a communication system again when the world's gone to shit.
Yeah, and he'd be able to build us a shelter, and yeah, I think we'd be all right as a family. We've got 2 dogs as well, so that they'd either be food or
I was hoping you weren't going to say that.
Yeah, no, don't cut that.
Yeah, leaving it
Oh
in.
no, that's staying. That's gold right there.
Eating dogs for the end of the first week. Oh, harsh. Well, thank you very much, Amanda, for entertaining us with your weird and wonderful mind. It's been wonderful. I will pass you into the very capable hands of Miss Ashley.
Hi.
Hello.
So we start off everybody with the wonderful question of where were you raised?
Okay, so I was raised in the south of the UK in a little place called Highcliffe, which is near Bournemouth, which is on the south coast, kind of between Bournemouth and Southampton.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, right down at the bottom of the UK.
So what got you into acting?
When I was at primary school, so infant school,
Mm-hmm.
I was really, really shy and quiet. I'm an only child. And I think when I was about 6, the headmistress said to my parents that maybe doing drama lessons would bring me out of myself a little bit. And so that's why I started doing drama lessons at school. And then I enjoyed it, and I was quite good, and I was able to I was really loud on stage and really able to express myself, and I sort of found my place, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
I was still shy and quiet off stage, but I sort of found a way of being able to express myself, and it did give me confidence. And then that was it. That was all I wanted to do from then on, really.
And then how was your support system with getting into acting?
Really good. I mean, like I said, I'm an only child, and my parents were always really, really supportive. Nobody else in our, in our world really had anything to do with that. My father was in the Royal Navy, and my mum was a stay-at-home mum. So there wasn't anybody, hadn't inherited it from anybody or anything like that. So they sort of were sort of pushed into this weird world that they knew nothing about, but they were always really, really supportive, and used to take me in when I was a kid. There weren't so many sort of like little theatre schools locally like there are now. I presume it's the same in the States. You can't sort of move a mile down the road nowadays without there being somebody set up a little theatre school for kids. But there wasn't really that sort of thing that much when I was a kid in the 80s. So I joined the local amateur society, or I think you'd call it community theatre in the States. And that's really where I sort of cut my teeth, I suppose, and learnt about, and what was good about that was I learnt about everything, because if you were part of that society, it was your turn to join in painting the set or doing the props or the costumes. So it taught me that it's not just about the people on the stage, it's about the whole, and I can't have one without the other. So it was good from that point of view. Yeah.
And so you said you obviously got into theater. How did you start prepping? Did you know right away that you wanted to go to university for acting, or what was your path for that?
So once I got to that age, I just all I wanted to do. So I did A levels, and then was auditioning for I auditioned for drama schools. I didn't even think about doing anything else. I had friends who were who did drama at university, but in those days the system was slightly different. So if you wanted to be an actor, you went to drama school. Not that many people would think, I want to be an actor, so I'll go and do a university degree in drama. Whereas now it's slightly different. You can you can sort of go to university and that path is still very open to you, but it really wasn't. It was one or the other, and if you wanted to do it as a career, then you went on a vocational course. So I auditioned for drama schools, and I think I auditioned for 5 and went to the one I got into, which I was disappointed at, because I'd auditioned for straight acting courses, and got into a musical theatre course. They put me on a musical theatre course, so I was a bit disappointed at that, because I wanted to do straight theatre, but I also didn't want to wait another year and try again. So because I was impatient to get on, and I went at 18 straight after A levels.
So when you said they put you on the musical theater, was that so that had to be your, we call it majors over here? Is that the course you had to continue on, since you couldn't switch the following year or anything?
So the course that I did, the college I went to is called Mount View, and it's different now. You either do the acting course or the musical theatre course, but when I went there in the first year, the actors and the musical theatre were all in one year group together, and then at the end of that year you sort of said what you would prefer to do, and the teachers said, well, you're doing this. And I think really because of my voice, they pushed me into doing musical theatre, and I was 18. I would have a very different conversation with them about that now, but then I did what I was told, really, unfortunately. I can't dance. I mean I had hours and hours and hours of dance training, but I'm still utterly shite at it. As an option, musical theatre was a big challenge for me, and I would have preferred to been on the acting course and been one of the good singers. So yeah, but it obviously it was then how I, it's what I worked in, so it wasn't all bad, because I love it, because drama school for me was very, very different to the industry. I didn't really like drama college very much.
Yeah.
at all. I don't know whether that's something that lots of people have
No,
said.
I would like to actually dive into that a little bit more. What about it did you like, and obviously you said you didn't like, and then how did that kind of affect your process moving forward?
I think we have to take into account that I'm talking about drama schools in the early 90s, and I think that in the UK the system is quite different now. So I don't think that people have necessarily this sort of experience, but I found it quite, they sort of focused more on what you couldn't do than what you could, is how it felt. Whether that was their way of doing things or not, I don't know. That's how I received it. So as a non-dancer on the musical theatre course, I quite often just felt really rubbish. And that's not great, you know, for a creative environment, really, to sort of inspire you and stuff. So there were a couple of teachers who were amazing, but yeah, I found that really difficult. And what's interesting though, what I find interesting is the people that had a really difficult time there, who found, for various reasons, found it difficult. We all came out and worked, and people who had an easier time and seemed to enjoy themselves didn't. So I don't know whether there was some kind of weird reverse psychology going on in their method. But I think it's very different now. I think, as I understand it, and the little bit of teaching I've done in schools, it is different now. It's about building you up, and you know, because when you're in the industry, then I found that so different then once I started working and had an agent, because they were really interested in what I could do, what was sort of in that bag of tricks that was mine. And they wouldn't, you know, your agent's not going to put you up for something that you're not right for. So suddenly there was a real relief at being in the real world, because I didn't have to be a square peg in a round hole ever. You know, I could just be what myself, and what I was good at was good enough. Yeah. So drama school wasn't overly positive for me.
And I wanted to ask you about, did you get your drama? Did you get your agent right out of school, like most UK students tend to do?
Yeah. So it's another reason why people would pick to go to a drama school in the UK rather than to a university. I think because you get a showcase at the end. So in your third year, you sort of just do show after show or play after play. It's a bit like being in a rep season, and you invite people to that, so agents and casting directors, and then you have a showcase, usually in a West End theatre. All the colleges, they each hire out a West End theatre, and all the agents and casting directors are invited to those, and you know, everybody's got their photo and their CV and their contact details are all there, or all available online now, I would assume. And yeah, and then hopefully you get your agent from that. I got my agent from, in the third year, the show that I was given a lead in. I got my agent from that. He came to see that and approached me after that. So I had an agent before I did the graduation, which is quite nice.
Yeah. One less thing to worry about.
Yeah.
Graduation, just check. So we talked about how you are a writer as well and a producer. Did anything from drama school kind of push you into that, or have you always just been kind of creative in that way?
No, that's all new stuff. So I think drama school for me, I didn't know I could be other things, and I don't know again whether that might be something to do with sort of the evolution of the industry as well. You know, I'm talking about the 90s, and I was sort of in that pigeonhole of musical theatre and hopping from show to show, and I was very, very lucky because I came out of drama school and went straight into work, and so I never sort of had to be inventive, or create stuff for myself. I was lucky. So it's only now, while I'm doing my masters and kind of reinventing myself to a certain extent, and thinking, okay, I want to have lots of fingers in lots of different pies. Mm-hmm. How do I do that? And also, I have a wealth of experience that I didn't have at 21. So and I have opinions that are strong, and I don't mind voicing them, and I want to use my creativity to do that. So I think that sort of pushes me to want to write stuff and create my own content, really. Yeah, that's a now thing more than a then.
How would you I guess in more detail explain how you were in the business at the beginning? I mean, obviously you were younger, you weren't married with kids, compared to how you kind of approach your acting career now.
Well, so everything was just able to be all about me when I started. You know, in that absolute selfishness of youth, I was, you know, and my work and my life, my social life, everything. I ate, slept, breathed the work I was doing, the shows I was in. Those people were my family and my social life, and that's just that was my way of life. Then I stopped and had a family, and now, I mean, now I'm a sort of 100% person. I'm an all or nothing person. So my whole life's been like that, really. When I was working first time round, I was so blinkered and so focused, and I knew what I wanted to do, and I aimed for it, and I achieved it. But then life threw me a curveball, as it does, and so then I sort of went off in a different direction and sort of stepped away from the industry for quite a while, and went 100% at motherhood. And I guess now that my kids are older, I'm like 100% back in creativity. I've dabbled, and I've kept my hand in, and I've worked in different areas of the industry over the last 20 years. I mean, like, I was like, I'm just stepping away for a bit, and then 20 years later. But so now I guess I can't really answer that question from a point of view that would be useful to you guys, because you've got young children, because my children are now 18, 20 and 22. So I'm sort of at a point where I'm in my late 40s, because I had them unexpectedly young, and I can sort of step off and have a second wind, for want of a better expression. And they're self-sufficient, not living at home. One of them lives at home, but it's not the same as being a mother of small children in the industry. That's a tough job. But I think it's got better, because I think I know that some of the shows have sort of like a job share thing in the West End. So there is a possibility of that. Some producers do implement that. But it's not been something that has been, I didn't go back to work and I fully, like, 8 shows a week, and it was a huge gap in my life, and a huge pain, as in, I don't mean pain in the neck, I mean actual pain, for a long time, but I couldn't do that and be the mum I wanted to be, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
So yeah. So it's not really an answer to your question, is it? But
no, it is. I mean, if you don't mind talking about it, like, what was that choice? I mean, like you said, you live, breathe acting and doing this work, and then you said, you made that decision of saying, okay, I'm going to kind of put it on hold and start this family, because I want to be all in, and what the business requires of you. And
no, you're making it sound like neater than it was.
No, life is not neat. It's messy, but
no, it's really, really messy. No, so I didn't intend particularly. I didn't really think about having children that much at all. Stuff happened to me. So my father died, which really messed me up. Really kind of through. I mean, even though he'd been ill for a couple of years, it still really screwed me up. And then within 6 months of that, I was pregnant with my daughter. And And so life took me in this, it sort of, we talk about choices, but sometimes the choices are, not great choice or less great choice.
Great.
especially as women and mothers, I think.
Yes.
So I was in a situation where I was like, well, I and then after I'd had my daughter, I had postnatal depression, which was probably also grief for having lost my father. So there's that all sort of snowballed, and before I knew it, I had 3 kids under 4. And because my husband is in the industry, and his career started to sort of take off at that point, it just became the obvious choice was for him to go on tour and earn good money, and me to stay at home with the kids. So that was sort of, it was choices, but it's not, as with all choices of motherhood, it's not as straightforward as society would like to have us believe.
It's like deciding which, shit sandwich you want that day. Like, do you want yesterday's shit sandwich, or do you want one that's 2 days? Like, which one are we picking? So
basically we can have it all, but not without hard choices and feeling like shit and feeling massively guilty for the choices you make, especially if any of those choices require putting yourself first. We just don't do it. Can't do
and
it.
Also, and I think that because I've sort of got friends who are my age, maybe a bit older as well, in the industry, and there's that sort of thing, motherhood is a wonderful thing, and it has, as an actor, enabled me to reach parts of my emotions that I could never, I could intellectually know were there, but I could never actually really access without the journey of motherhood. But it also diminishes you in other ways, because you are that title, you are that, and you very, very quickly get rubbed out a little bit. The edges get rubbed out, and I've sort of I guess I'm at a point of drawing them back in. I don't know.
In full Technicolor, you are drawing them back in again. Not just a little outline. You are freaking throwing paint at that bitch. That is coming out stronger than you went in.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's I hope so. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's massively inspiring. So inspiring. Don't ever forget that, by the way.
It is inspiring, because I feel like, for at least the 3 of us, we are getting into acting not in our 20s. Sorry to disappoint anybody. I'm not 20 years old. Me and Keira do have smaller children. I know that Heather's are a little bit older. And I know with me and trying to pursue this, I do get that question. I don't know if Keira or Heather, you get this, or even Amanda, you getting it now. I know your kids are older. If anybody's like, well, who has the kids, or how are you doing this, and who's taking care of the kids? And I'm like, the other person that created them.
Yes. Guarantee no one has ever asked my husband when he went to work.
Right. And I think that someone said it, like maybe an actress or something, that said like they get that question, or like, oh, do you feel any guilt? And I'm going to be like, my husband went kayaking this weekend. I bet you not one moment was he felt guilty about being gone for 4 days.
Nor would anyone ask, did you feel guilty going kayaking and leaving the children with mom?
Who fed them?
I hope you're right. You're dad.
But I think, so I want to know, as someone who's been in the industry for a while, even though your children are older, coming back in, do you feel like those stereotypes of like, well, you can do this, or you can be a mom, do you feel like they have shifted in the UK at all? That you can kind of do it both, and you can get in the game with not being 20 years old?
There's a lot in that.
That's that was a run-on question, and you're welcome.
I just have to say that, Amanda, you were the first person to say to me that coming into this at an older age, you are a different commodity than when you first came in, and you have more to offer. And that's always stuck with me. And that was freaking like a year ago now, almost. So that massively stuck with me. So thank you for that, by the way.
Oh, I'm glad. It's true. It's so true. When I think of you know, we always sort of say, don't we, you know, the sort of like, if we could speak to our younger selves, because I look at myself and the opportunities I missed, and you know, oh God, I was so green when I started out. I think I can't really say whether the industry has changed. I mean, I think I just said about job sharing and stuff. I hope it has. I hope that there are moves towards that. I hope that there are more women writers, there are more women directors, there are more, you know, there's more opportunity, and women's voices, you know, post Me Too, all of that are clearly beginning to be heard more. There's still loads of room for improvement. I'd like to be part of that. I think, I mean, I feel like I feel like the sort of the only way I can describe it is I currently feel like the scales are falling away from my eyes as regards to sort of seeing possibilities and what I can be, what I can use from my experiences. I'm not being very eloquent, sorry. But I think that I'm excited about what I can create as a woman moving forward, and being part of an industry that I hope is changing. I mean, I think we're at a point with COVID where there is room to change everything. Unfortunately, no government in the Western world is going to do that. But I think, you know, I was watching I was listening to a podcast the other day about a TV documentary called "Can't Get You Out of My Head" by a guy called Adam Curtis. It's a political thing, but he talks to somebody in there. I think he's an anthropologist, and he basically says, when we made this world like this, doesn't mean we can't just remake it in another way. And I think that's I think we're at a point where we could do that. And I think theatre and all creative arts, but for me, theatre is a way of beginning that journey, and that's very much something that I want to do for women, for mothers. You know, I just think we're all put in these little pigeonholes, and we're so much more than that. And most of the women that I know, you three included, are really quite incredible creatures. So, you know, look at what you've created with this. You know, think about a year ago, you didn't know this was something that you could do, and here you are. And it's, you know, that's, I found the pandemic and the sort of taking a breath and a step back and going, okay, this is what I want to do creatively. I found it really a nice moment in time for myself, where I've kind of gone, okay, yeah. And I'm at an age where I don't really want to take any shit, and I'm quite happy to tell people what I think. And I'm sort of, yeah, I'm probably a stroppy cow, but I think that moving forward, there's you've got to sort of push the fact that just because you're a mother, it's an asset. It makes you something extraordinary, and that needs to be recognized.
So another question is, with all that being said, what are some things that you think that you've worked on that has kind of shaped this new badass approach to your career? Like, I'm going to take the jobs that I want to take, or I'm going to invent the jobs that I want to have. Like, do you think there's anything other than just becoming a mother and being a badass woman that has like shaped that for you?
I think it's more people that I've met than sort of things I've done. Probably conversations I've had, you know, other women I've met, and it's the women I don't want to be as much as the women I do want to be. You know, that's like, I'm sure we can all recognise that. I think, yeah, I think it's about people more than things I've done, and so my experience doing my masters has really has really shaped what I want to do next, because it's given me a template for it, and it's introduced me to creative people that want to do that too. So I've sort of, I guess, I found like minds. But yeah, I would say it's more people that I've met rather than things I've done.
Okay. And so tell me about your journey doing your schooling right now and how that's kind of
So I didn't sort of intend particularly to be here. Like 5 years ago, I was just sort of bumbling along, sort of, you know, not really having any idea of what the future held. And I was doing some teaching in, and I was trying to apply for various different teaching jobs at a couple of universities on their drama courses. And I kept sort of not getting past the computer application stage, you know, where it's not actually looked at by a human, it's just sorted, because I didn't have a degree. So I had West End credits, all this experience, but I didn't have a degree, and that was what was stopping my application being seen by a human. So I kind of thought, okay, well, how do I remedy that? Because I went to drama school, did a 3-year course, but in those days they were diplomas, they weren't degrees. If you wanted a degree, you went to, and you didn't need a degree. You don't need a degree to be an actor. The only reason the system changed was because in this country, the loan system changed, the grant system for being able to afford to go to drama school or anything creative. So basically, I don't know which government it was, but they basically said that, you know, you need to, all these courses in all these creative institutions, so also I think art, music, dance, drama, they need to be degree courses, or we won't give people government loans, student loans, which would then obviously mean you had a system where you only either had rich people or people from abroad coming into those places. So, which you kind of have now. So the system changed. So all those courses then became degree courses. So what I did at Mountview for 3 years is now a degree course. It's exactly the same course. There's just some academic stuff shoved on top. So I found a top-up course at Arts Educational, which is another drama school in the UK. And I did for about it was an 18-month course. And I just basically did the academic part of the degree, and they stuck that to my diploma, and my diploma became a degree. So I don't know whether you can do that in the States, but you can do that over here.
Oh, no.
And lots of people do it. I mean, the class, there were 10 of us, and they were all, you know, I think everybody was over 30, and everybody was doing it for the same sort of reasons, really. So I just thought, okay, now I can get, you know, better teaching work. But I loved the experience of learning as an adult, because I wasn't, as a kid I was dyslexic but not diagnosed. So I was diagnosed as an adult when I was doing that course. So I was like, oh, actually I'm not stupid. I can do this. And so I thought, oh, maybe I'll do an MA. And also being around that environment and being with other actors again, more than I would be normally, because they would just be my friends who I would be with rather than actual strangers. And I went, okay, I'd like to do an MA. And I was like, okay, I would like to do a directing MA, but I need it to be part-time, because obviously my kids still at that point wanted to be able to be around for them, and also wouldn't be able to afford, because I don't live in London, wouldn't be able to afford to do a full-time course to live in London. So found the course that I'm doing, picked it purely because it was part-time. Or you can do it part-time. There's people who do it in a year. I've done it over 2 years. Although it doesn't feel part-time, it's pretty bloody full on. And yeah, so that's how I ended up doing that. And then through the process of doing this, I've kind of gone, oh my God, I'm back, baby. It's like, yeah. So that's, and it's the people that I've met there, and the tutors at RADA that I've had, a couple in particular, who have just been really inspiring. Yeah. So I can't even remember what the question was. I've waffled.
No, but it's all great information. I love it. And that concludes my section. I'm going to pass you on to Heather, who will talk to you about her section.
I'm excited.
Exciting. I always like to ask our guests basically like the preparation aspect of it. So my first question is just, how do you prepare for, either auditions or maybe pitches that you want to make? How do you prepare for your days on set? Do you have any rituals that you do?
So my days on set are non-existent because I'm a theatre bunny. I'd like to have days on set.
Well, like days on stage. Let me repeat. Days on stage.
Prep work would be, so obviously for an audition, most of the sort of stuff that I would audition for, I would have to sing. Mm-hmm. And so my prep work for that would be, in the same way that you might have a repertoire of audition speeches, I have a repertoire of songs that I've actually just, with the help of Adam, have just kind of edited to be more age appropriate. So I would take a song in the same way that I would take a speech and break it down and do all that same stuff that you do to a speech, mm-hmm. looking through it, finding the maybe actions and breaking up the the thought process, all of that stuff I would do, because you'd take the lyrics, but also the extra sort of help that you have with a piece of music is you have the dynamics within the music. So you have, whether it's loud or soft, whether it's following the music, or whether it's free, all those things give you clues. If it's a well-written piece of music, they give you clues as to the motivation and the mood and the feeling of the piece, and they sort of, the two things combined, lyrics and music. I'd look at both of those, and obviously learn the song and that side of it. Try and find somebody to play it for you rather than trying to find a backing track. Obviously in COVID times that's not that possible, but it's always better to have a real live pianist play it through it, because that's what you're going to have in your audition. Mm-hmm. And never pick something that's really hard to play, because you don't know what the ability of the person. This sounds awful, and this is like, I don't mean this to be offensive to people who play at auditions, but sometimes if you take them something that's really difficult, that's not really fair. So there's kind of a general rule: don't take Sondheim to an audition, or Jason Robert Brown songs, depending, I guess. I mean, obviously if you're auditioning for something that's actually a Sondheim piece, then that's fine, but because the accompaniment is notoriously difficult. So so I've got a repertoire of songs that I would pick from, and so the prep is very similar to prepping for the theatre audition, the straight theatre audition, but and they might send you stuff. So for a first round audition, you'd probably take your own song in the style of whatever the show is that you're auditioning for. Because in the same way as looking for a speech, you need to find something that is the right style, the right period, the right type of voice. But you would then, if you get a recall, they would maybe send you stuff from the show, in the same way that they might then ask you to read from the play or send you sides. That's the same thing. You just, and you also might, if it's a musical that's obviously got dialogue in it rather than being sung through, then you would potentially have to do that as well. You'd have to do a read through with somebody at an audition. Yeah. So that's kind of how I would prep for that, I think. Did I answer that?
You did. And you said you revamped to make your choices more age appropriate. Do you care to expand on that a little bit? Because some people watching may be a little older and thinking, ooh, maybe I should
Yeah, so only in the sense that a lot of what I had in my repertoire would be stuff that I would probably still sing like at a concert because you know I could get away with it, or it's something that an audience likes to hear. But if you're, I think then one of the most important things as a creative person is to really understand what you are and what you're selling, because it is a business and you are selling yourself. When you go to an audition, you're saying, this is who I am, this is what I've got, this is what I can bring to the table, you know, here you go. And you're trying to solve their problem. You're trying to say to them, you've got a problem, you need to cast this, I'm your answer. But you do need to not be delusional about what you are, what you look like. You know, you've got to be very real about all those things. And so there's no point in me still having stuff in my repertoire that I had when I was 25, because I'm never going to play those parts, nor would I want to. So I've sort of adapted my repertoire to have songs that are sung by the mum, and to have songs that are, you know, just and actually they're actually more interesting because they're you know, they've got more weight to them, I guess. But and I've looked more. When I was younger, I used to really go for, I've got a big voice, and I used to really go for songs that would show off my vocal gymnastics and be kind of showy offy songs. I think my repertoire is less of that now. I've got those in there, but I don't always need to show my money notes or my big voice, because I think that what I would be going up for now would be the acting would be the first thing they want above the singing. I think that's something that I've learned. That yeah, and also there's an element of that. Hopefully, by looking at my CV, they would be like, "Oh, well, she can obviously sing." So I hope.
Well, we know that you write and produce. So, do you have any? I guess how is being an actress helpful for the producing side of it, and vice versa?
Okay, so producing's a funny thing because you sort of. I've not done it on a big scale. I've done it a couple of shows, relatively small shows, I guess. But it's just sort of what I ended up doing because nobody else was going to do that. so it's sort of an organising thing, and I'm not a very organised person, but I seemed to be okay at that. I guess as an actor, it's a bit like with directing. I've discovered that, and it's not always the case. There's probably some actors who direct who are really terrible at it. I don't know, or who really don't have the. I find that because I'm an actor, I understand how to direct because I know how I would like to be spoken to as an actor. So I hope that it's a similar thing with producing, in the sense that I know what I would like the product to look like if I'm in it. So if I'm the person creating the product from the production side, it's sort of, it's the same eyes. Is that, you know, it's like standing out of it and going, okay, well, I'd like it to be like this. And so I guess the acting informs everything. And the thing that I've really learned is my first class actually at RADA with directing, we were just sort of going through stuff to sort of like, you know, different ways of doing things and going through stuff with actors. And obviously I've worked with directors, so I've already had ideas about that. And then I was like, well, that's exactly what I'd do as an actor. It's just seen from a different point of view. And I think that's sort of like a little, it feels like a little secret that nobody sort of like lets on, that it's sort of all, you can sort of just tweak the angle that you're looking at something at and put on another hat. well, that's how it feels. There's probably people going to listen to this and think she's bloody mad. That's wrong. But that's how it feels, and that makes me feel like I can have a go at different things because I have acting as my really solid foundation. So yeah, I don't know whether that answered you.
It did. It's always because we've interviewed a few people who act and also produce and direct, and it's always interesting to hear their take on both sides of being on, those roles.
Have they said similar things, or am I like completely left of field?
No, I think
Yeah,
that
very similar.
Yeah, I think all of them say it's great to have the experience in the different areas because it only kind of heightens, like, if you know how to direct and you're an actor, how to take a director's, directions better because you know what they're looking for.
Mm-hmm.
And same thing with director and producer.
It's a bit like I was talking about earlier when I said I like one of my first experiences of acting was belonging to the local amateur society and having to do a bit of everything.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the same sort of, I guess it's the same idea in the sense that it means that you appreciate everybody more. I've learned a lot about production because my husband's a production tour manager, so he takes big shows on the road. And so I sort of picked up, I mean, he'd say I know absolutely sweet FA about it, but I've picked up bits and bobs from him that have made me kind of go, oh, okay, well, let's look at that like that, and then instead, it's sort of like it's an eclectic mix, and it's like having a tool bag that you have as an actor of all these different things, that different styles, different tricks. If one thing doesn't work, okay, I'll try this. There's all that, and it's, you just add a few more things to it, but it's the same bag. Really.
So do you have one thing that you've worked on, whether it was producing, directing, or acting, that you feel has shaped your career the most, or that you feel was not your favorite, but like the most impactful on you?
Well, I guess that's in phases, really, because you see, it's when I started, one thing begat another, and I think that's often, well, I don't know whether it's often the way, but it was certainly the way for me. So it's sort of like dominoes. Once one thing happened, then from that. So my first job out of drama school was a brand new West End musical, but it only ran we previewed for 3 weeks and ran for 2. So we got our notice. So my first job finished really quickly. But because we got our notice then, Les Mis was auditioning and was already in its sort of 4th round of auditions. So the Les Mis office said to all of our agents, well, let's get them all in and we'll audition them because they've just got their notice, which I guess is a general thing that happens. And so then I auditioned for Les Mis and then got that. So without the first job dying, that other one wouldn't have happened. And then from there, I got my next job. And from there, I got my next job. But before I got the next job, I got a recording for another musical that was that Lloyd Webber was doing. And then from that, got the next job. So that kind of all, so to pick one that I guess has to be the first one, even though it was terrible. Because without it, I mean, the job that has given me the most, the job that kind of has had lots of little babies would be Les Mis, because once you're in that family, it's sort of, it is a family. And then I did the 10th anniversary concert, the 25th anniversary concert, umpteen concerts in big stately homes with orchestras in the grounds kind of thing. It's just it is just a family. So I guess that's, and was an amazing experience, and I had a ball and played a part that I'd wanted to play since I was 15, and so there was all that. But that, yeah, and then my next job, I met my husband, and have 3 children. So it's yeah. So there isn't really, you know. And now I guess creating my own stuff is very rewarding. Having my own voice is very rewarding.
So do you have anything that you're working on right now that you can talk about or coming up, or should we just have you on later when you can talk about it?
So I'm just about to start doing I'm doing my first short film, which I am writing, directing, and producing, which is really scary.
And so exciting.
That's great, and that's sort of come from that was born. Ashley was in the room. That was born from an actors community class with Libby Hopper, and yeah, so that's come from that. And I'm 2 colleagues from my MA and I we've just started a theatre company, which is we haven't got a name yet. Which is embarrassing, because we can't decide on a name. We're sort of, you know, we need it to be just right. But the whole sort of idea is to sort of champion women's voices and women's stories, in particular, child rearing being central to a healthy society, and sort of including women of all ages, in all situations, as part of our creative practice, and hopefully taking theatre to people who, you know, taking it out into communities, into to people who think that it's not for them, to women who think it's not for them. That's our sort of plan.
Sounds wonderful.
Awesome. Yeah, that's great. And we know all about the struggle of
naming something.
Yeah, of course.
I will, if I have one piece of advice.
Think in the shower. Think in the shower is how I come up with most of my plans. But once you have a name, don't get in a shower and then recreate that name after you've like set up platforms for that name, because or have the other 2 people say, no, we're not going to do it because we already have our name. This will be our name. Let's set up our social media accounts. This will be great. And then like 2 days later, guys, I think we need change. This is way better. So you're Ashley, whatever you say, Ashley.
That's my one tip. When you have a name, like sit on it, you know, take a couple of showers with it, make sure that's the name that you want, then go forward. But I think that that's going to be a beautiful company, and I would love to fly over and ever be a part, even if you need me to like paint whatever for the set.
Hold lights, hold cards, whatever.
Well, the other 2 women are pretty great. So there's an actress called Tanya Black who's worked with the RSC, and then there's a lady called Jeanette Smith who is a director, freelance director, and she's also a theatre educator. So she was head of acting at Arts Ed on their BA course for a while. So we've got lots of ideas, and we come from lots of different directions as regards to our theatre experience. So hopefully, and we're all mums. So
yeah, awesome.
Well, usually this is one of the very last questions we ask, but since it's on my mind now, where can people find you on social media so they can kind of, do you have a social media like
I
an
do, and I'm gonna have to be really old and actually look at what it is to be able to tell you.
Just so that way people can follow you and maybe keep up to date on.
So I'm on Twitter.
See, you're better than me. I don't even know how to work Twitter.
Oh, I love Twitter.
Ashley calls it Tweeter.
I did. Spelled it Tweeter one time.
Yes. So I'm just at a Chennell on Twitter. I've had a Twitter account for ages, obviously very unimaginative when I created it. So it's just at a Chennell. That's it. And then what's next? Instagram. Oh, you must know. We all follow each other on Instagram, so you can find that one. I think I'm just Amanda Chennell. I'm so boring.
But easy to find.
It's easy to find.
That-
Yeah.
That was my whole motivation, completely.
Bar Amanda Chennell. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm still waiting for my request to be approved.
Oh, I haven't got it.
What?
No, I really haven't. Oh, I'm gonna have to have a look for that.
It's like me with Twitter. Like if you try to friend me on Twitter, I have no clue.
Friending
I
isn't a
can't-
thing on Twitter, Ashley.
The
There's
thing
a
I can't
reason why we're
do-
like, Ashley, don't touch the social.
I'm not allowed to touch social media. I can't even say it right.
We had a password debacle one evening because
really?
Ashley, I can't even.
I got on there and then I ended up somehow changing all of our like my password and the hack's password. And with the hack, do you know why we're called hack? Does it make sense at all?
Yeah, well, so if you hack something, if it's a hack, it's a shortcut.
Yes,
That's one reason.
but it's also Heather, Ashley, Keira.
That's so cool.
See, shower genius right here.
Oh,
Dual meaning.
that's why. Because I couldn't work out why the C wasn't there. I thought, is that like some? Because I actually thought you might want to cut this bit. I actually thought, is it like when you write a swear word and you put in the
Yes,
the hashtag?
Yeah.
So I was like, fuck the real sides rather than hack the real sides. That's what
It was kind of a play on that because there's only 3. But I was like, that is so just, cool. And then they were like, yeah. And then we were like, we already had the real sides for everything.
We just put it in front because we were like, it's a play on words, like it's our initials. And then that's why we put the little asterisks in there because we're like, well, if somebody just sees like HAK, that it's kind of weird, but like the HA something K, I think they automatically like make a word out of it, like hack, HACK.
Or a love heart. I didn't have a asterisk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then we thought it was also like hacking in, giving like inside tips and information. So
Yeah, like a phone hack.
Yeah.
Oh my god, it's so multi-dimensional.
See,
What can we say?
we're layers over here.
Yeah,
Very deep.
the whole onion.
that warm shower. So is there anything we always like to ask towards the end too? Is there anything that we didn't ask you that you wanted to talk about? And if there is, this is your moment that you can talk about it.
Oh, I don't think so. I don't know.
We're very thorough with questions, and usually we get through like everything. But our guests are like, yeah, I want to. What would be if you had to choose just 3 words that described your career path up to this point? What would they be? And you can make them make a sentence, or you can just do 3 non-related words.
Okay, so no, they don't make a sentence because I thought about this. So serendipitous because I love the word, and that I feel like the start of my career was there was so much serendipity in it. It was beautiful. Interrupted, I think is a good word. And revival, because that's also a theatre word. So like
Those are good words. Those might be the best 3 we've heard.
They
Really?
my like favorite. I feel like they speak to my soul when
Yeah.
yeah.
Especially interruption.
Yeah. Just name
Yes.
just name your theater company that. There you go.
It is one of our. It is. We've got a list of possibilities, and interrupted was one of them. But because we want it to be able to say what it needs to be able to say more.
Yeah.
Than that.
Hiatus.
What? Say again?
Hiatus. All of you took a hiatus.
Yeah, that's quite good.
Mm-hmm.
I'll add it to the list.
And
Well,
I didn't.
We were really keen on slight shift because we were thinking, okay, we're shifting the perspective, but everybody we said it to went, is that slight shit? What?
It's like what are your initials? Maybe you can think of a name.
No, that's not going to work.
No, okay.
Is it ass? No.
No, not quite. But
Ask theater.
yeah. That's a whole other show.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. That's not her genre. So
No.
Oh my gosh. So
Walk
what
out of it, but
could go with the dungeon?
yes, yeah, it would, wouldn't it? Oh, yeah.
What's the worst thing to say on a dating profile? I own the ass theater and I have a dungeon.
Yeah.
Okay.
Stop staring at my online profiles, okay? You're giving everyone away my secrets.
Mm.
Okay.
Oh,
Oh God. Okay, so what is one piece of advice that you would give your younger self or anybody who is just now starting, whether they're 15, 20, or maybe you want to target it towards an older woman who is just getting started?
Oh, okay. I've got two things. The first one is just a general thing for life. Actually, just be kind. I just think if there's a choice, go for kind. Yeah, generally. But I think probably I would say to myself, you can say no. You can challenge things. You can ask questions. You can have autonomy over your body and your choices. I think that's probably, and I'd say that to anybody. You know, I think that's not necessarily for a younger woman. That's for anybody. I think when I think about my younger self and how green I was, and times that I think, oh, I could have spoken up about that, changed it for the next person. Yeah, I think that even if it maybe risks you being, because the problem there is that the reason that we don't speak up about anything, you know, or don't sort of think, oh, my voice counts here, I should say something, is because we're worried about how other people will view us, and we're worried, especially in a career, you're worried that if that person has authority over you in some way, that it's going to affect your future. And it might do, unfortunately, because that is the way of the world. But I still think that we should be brave and you know, have autonomy over your own self, and your choices, and speak up and say what you think. And obviously that is much easier in my late 40s than in my early 20s. I absolutely see that. But I do see in younger people, in my own kids and my daughter, she's much mouthier than I ever was.
Yeah,
at that
society
age.
is changing, isn't it? We're
Yeah.
we're allowed to have more of a voice
Yeah,
than when
and
we were younger.
absolutely. And she has, you know, a nice big loud voice, and yeah, and I hope that is partly society. I hope that's also partly because I hope I've been an example of being able to say, you know, this is, you know, you have a choice here, say something. But I do think it's society changing slightly. But that would be my advice is yeah, don't be afraid to say what you want.
It's good advice.
that's great advice. Well, thank you so much, Amanda, for your wisdom today, and especially the laughs at the end. I really needed those. And just taking, you know, your time. We always are honored by anyone that agrees to come on the show and show their experience. So we really, really appreciate it.
Oh, I've loved it. I've loved talking to you guys.
Oh, yay.
Thank you for
you.
asking me.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you so much.